Hi guys! Have you ever wanted to do big bongs every 5 seconds? Well, if that's the case, I do have a treat for you today. Now, the thing is that at the moment explosive builds are kinda in a spot where they're pretty good, but they have always had a sort of ironic weakness. It is the fact that even though you're using AoE damage, you actually really struggle to clear mobs. The reason for this is that with the explosions that you're using, you can actually stagger and damage yourself. So in the end, whether you're running Starshot or Anguish or anything of the sort, you end up having a little bit of a troublesome time trying to clear up mobs. That's why today we're bringing a weapon that I think it's never been in the meta, and to be honest with you, it's the Corrupted Arbalest, as you can already see. So how does the build work? Well, it is pretty simple. The Corrupted Arbalest shines in this build because of two basic functions. The first thing is that it actually really allows you to simply clear mobs very easily. As you can see, you have the disc that bounces between your enemies, and if you activate the mod, those will bring explosions. Now, we are of course using a prism that has the Wrecking Ball legendary effect. However, it is not necessary. If you do not have it at the moment, I will provide a variation of the build that doesn't use it. It is of course not as strong, but at the core value of the build, it's still the same. We still use both of the weapons that we are using for the intents and purposes that we are using them for. So, how does it work? Well, pretty easily. Of course, the main damage dealer on the build, if we're talking about bosses, will be the Starshot. It's just simply because the mod is amazing. It does a lot of damage with both the explosion and the DOT that it has attached to it. Now, when we want to build for the Starshot, we want two things. We want the energized neck coil to be able to profit from that DOT that I mentioned, and you also want the Timekeeper's Jewel. Now, this is not exactly a DOT build. We're not going to be applying a lot of statuses. You can apply Corroded and Overloaded with your Clalax if you want, but it's not really necessary. But the reason why we are using this is because, given the fact that we are also using the Affliction trade, we're going to be duplicating twice the total duration of the Big Bang DOT, which in turn means that the total damage, not the tick, but the total damage of the burn is going to be quadruple. Now, when you do that, the Energized Neck Coil takes the full damage, the total damage of the dot, in order to be able to apply its explosion. So that means that we're going to end up getting 8,000 damage explosions just from the Energized Neck Coil while we're using the Wrecking Ball Legendary Prism effect, which means that when you do a Starshot, you're going to be getting total damages of like 15 to 20k depending on how the bullet hits. So if you see right now, we're doing 16,000 damage per shot. So, okay, that is one part of the build. However, what is the rest? Why are we using the Corrupted Arbalest? So, the thing is that with the Arbalest, it provides you with a very useful gun for the two things that you need for this build. So the first thing, as we mentioned before, is the fact that you can clear mobs very easily with the mod. Basically, you shoot either a wall or an enemy, and the disc will bounce, exploding on each enemy that it finds. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, which you might have already noticed, is that it provides you crazy mod regeneration. So if I just bonk and then swap to the Arbalest, you'll see that if I activate it and shoot it like 3 to 4 times, I already have the mod for the Starshot back. So that means that every 5 seconds, every time that the Energized Neck Coil is off cooldown, I can shoot it again, quickly cash in for those 15k, and just start all over again. Now, for the mutators, we are going for Harmonizer on the Corrupted Arbalest so that we have more mod power generation for the Starshot, and we're going for feedback on the Starshot so that way we can loop the mods very well, so that the Starshot with its mod can provide a lot of mod power for the Arbalest, and the Arbalest can provide a lot of mod power for the Starshot. So that's basically it. Now, when it comes to rings and ring choices, these are the ones that I usually run when I'm running APOC Gauntlet. I tried to run an APOC Gauntlet with this build, however, the footage got corrupted, so I ended up not wanting to do it all over again, since the time that I got on that one was like 58 minutes, I believe. So I ended up doing a like the shorter one, the 7 one, with a total time of 23 minutes. I think it's a pretty decent time. I got pretty unlucky with the spawns on the bosses. This build really struggles against Shahala. It's not that it really struggles, but the fact that she is immune to fire means that the energized neck coil is not going to do you any favors, so you have to swap it out for something else. And then for since that was the 6th boss that I run into, I also forgot to change my gear into Annihilation, but that's besides the point. So going back into the rings, of course, if you are using the Wrecking Ball legendary effect, you do want as much crit damage as you can, since all of your explosions are going to be crits, guaranteed. So we're going for Burden of the Gambler and Probability Chord. The last slot is usually a flex slot. You can use whatever you want. If you are running solo Gauntlet on Epoch, I do recommend having some sort of defensive ring. Black Cat Band is really useful in the fact that it provides with one-shot protection, and even though I'm running a pretty tanky armor, it's always nice to have, but you can swap it around for anything that you might want. You can go for either the Blasting Cap ring, or if you prefer, you can also go for something that gives you status damage, such as, for example, the Shadow of Misery. Those two are pretty decent. You can also go for the Red Ring of Death. However, even though you're going to be duplicating your your dot on the star shot, you're not going to be so each of the dots is applied singularly, which means that the energized neck coil will not see both of them at the same time. So it'll just proc for one of those two dots, which means that the amount of damage that you will do with the bonk will be reduced. Also, the effect here is multiplicative, so the 10% reduced status damage is multiplicative, so it's not really recommended. If you do want to go for it, of course, go for it. But as I said, I do recommend either one of those 3 rings. So either the Black Cat, the Blasting Cap, or the Shadow of Misery. When it comes to traits, the only thing that I would really recommend would be, of course, Affliction to, again, double the DOT. Then ammo reserves, even if you might believe that it's not really necessary, the Arbalest really consumes a lot of ammo. And it's really tough to, especially if you're going for sort of a speed run or anything of the sort, it's really tough to replenish that ammo, so I do definitely recommend the ammo reserves. Then Kinship, because if you don't, as I said, you're going to be dealing 15,000 damage with your bonk, which means that one of those explosions could definitely kill you if you're not running this. If you do run this, it might seem that it's not that good, but you see, I'm not actually one-shotting myself. I'm doing a lot of damage to myself, but I'm not one-shotting myself. And if you run Siphoner, even if you come into close quarters with an enemy, and you just shoot both of you, the lifesteal that you're going to get off the explosion will actually help you heal. So definitely run Kinship so that you don't kill yourself. And apart from that, then you can go for Chakra if you want, but apart from that, the rest is pretty self-explanatory. Just these two, as well as Kinship, are everything that you need. And then another thing that I think that a lot of people will ask is, why am I running Havoc Form instead of Chaos Gate? So the thing is that, of course, Chaos Gate is 100% better if we're talking about boss encounters. However, if you're doing a gauntlet and you want to go for a quicker pace, or if you're either speedrunning or just playing and want to speed things up, the Havoc form really allows you to very quickly clear the levels where you have to clear a mob, because of the because of the fact that you are doing AoE damage, and second, because of the fact that you have the blinks, right? You do not have a stamina cost on each blink. So if you've killed all of the enemies in an area, you can just blink, and just get to another area where there are more enemies. So that's the reason why I'm playing Havoc form. But again, if you're playing the campaign, or if you just don't like Havoc form, you can of course go for Chaos Gate. No worries. When it comes to the summoner skills, it doesn't really matter. I never use them. It's just that summoner does have a really nice interaction with the dominator damage perk where the damage that you get is 35% to mod and 35% to explosive damage, meaning that our explosions get a 70% damage buff, which is pretty good. Now, that's it for the build. If you have any doubts, leave them on the comments. I'll be sure to answer you if you do have any doubts. Now, I'll leave you with a couple of boss fights that we run across, so just enjoy the fights, and I'll see you on the next one.